Welcome everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Cadre. We have a fun little map. This is new to us. We'd love for you to play around with it. We'll let this on just for a little bit longer. We're mapping out where we were born, and we have looks like people from all around the United States and Canada.
Maybe Puerto Rico. Wait, no, that's not Puerto Rico. That's Central America. Is that right? This map is turned funny for me.
Fun, just a fun little thing to see where we all are. Gail, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and have you open us up.
Okay. Welcome. Wait, make sure I'm on. Okay. Welcome everyone to I believe it's the last session of the workshop. It's been terrific. I'm sure it's been such a joy to be here. This is my favorite workshop of the year, and I've really missed it. And I always hear something new, which when you've been around a while, I'm sure many of you know, it's so nice to get a new perspective on something. So welcome to this. What we're going to be talking about today really ties into the keynote speaker. I was so happy to hear what he was saying. We're going to be talking about how important psychological safety is to the foundation of working together, being creative, and connecting. The agenda quickly is that we're going to be doing some activities throughout that will emphasize some of the points that we're making. And also, I'm going to talk about Project Aristotle, which is a study that was done by Google, really interesting, that sort of turned the industry of organizational knowledge on its head, because a certain principle didn't pan out in that study. And it took us to this notion that psychological safety is the foundation of every good relationship. We're going to talk about turn taking, active listening. We're going to get ideas from one another of practices that you think have worked really well to create a safe space, and practices that you haven't even tried that you'd like to get. This is going to be a real sharing opportunity for all of us. And again, that's our goal, to leave here today with some ideas on how to make your team even better. And when I say team, it means an IEP team, it means staff meetings, it means your family, your own relationships. All are made better if everyone feels safe in that situation, in that team, or in that relationship. Okay, Mark?
Okay, so hi everyone, good to see you. And I'm going to ask you for this exercise that we're going to do. This first exercise is I'm going to ask you to put yourself in gallery view so that you could see everyone. And if your cameras are off, just for this exercise, if you're able to put on your cameras, and if not, we totally understand. All distractions are welcome. But I thought I would just lead us in this, as we begin begin the discussion about psychological safety. Thought we would demonstrate or show you one activity, one exercise that we use. And so what I'm going to ask you to do, and I know it's Friday afternoon, so I'm going to ask you to grab a sticky note that's right next to your computer, or if you don't have a sticky note, a piece of paper is fine. Or if you don't have anything, your hand is also okay. And I'm going to ask you to go ahead and cover your camera just like this. And if you could stay close to it, because this activity is called Show Yourself. And so if this is true for you, I want you to go ahead and show yourself. And then if it's not true for you, then just you're leaving the camera on. So show yourself if you've read a book this year. Okay, awesome. Cover yourselves up. Show yourself if you are a night owl. Okay, cool. Cover yourselves up. Show yourself if you're mainly here at Cadre as a parent, Okay, perfect. Cover yourselves up. Welcome. Show yourself if you're here at Cadre from a parent resource perspective or a nonprofit supporting parents and families. Okay, great. Cover yourselves up. Show yourself if you work at a school district. Okay, awesome. Cover yourselves up. Show yourself if you work for the Department of Education in your state. Okay, awesome. Cover yourselves up. And show yourself if I didn't say what category you're in. Oh, what did I miss? Oh, there's a lot of you. So like multitasking, Parent Resource Center. Tell me what I'm missing.
Mediator.
Mediators. Oh yes, I forgot. I could show yourself. Okay, mediators. Woo. Okay, cover yourselves up. Show yourself if you remember getting lost as a child. Okay, great. Cover yourselves up. Show yourself if you've ever spent the night in a hospital. Cover yourselves up. Show yourself if you have been bullied as a child. Okay, cover yourselves up. Show yourself if you were a bully as a child. Okay. And show yourself if you've ever cheated. Okay, awesome. Everyone, uncover yourselves. And I'm just, it's just in the chat, like what's going on with you right now? Just, feel free to share out. But curious about what do you think the reason is why we would do this type of exercise in building psychological safety? Any thoughts for a team? And feel free, we're a smaller group today, so feel free to wave your hands vigorously or
Yell out.
yell out. What was that like? Yeah, Sue.
I thought it was a great exercise to practice being vulnerable.
Yes. Did you realize that the first kind of groupings were kind of what I call low stakes, kind of like who's in this room, what do you do, but it's still a vulnerability. And then as we went on, there was some trust exercises, right? And what is it like to be on a team when maybe you're the only one, or there's a couple of you that are showing yourselves, or so just being able to stand up and to be taken care of. And so when we think of psychological safety and we think about teams, we want to create a safe space. And sometimes we just need to start up like who's in the room. And a lot of times, how many of us are in meetings and such, and we don't even know who everyone is. So we want to be able to do that. So
Mark?
Yeah, go for it.
There were some good thoughts in the chat I'd like to share. The more you know about someone, the more likely you are to engage and to trust them. And that is something we're going to be talking about today. And somebody pointed out it would be more uncomfortable in person. It felt a little safer doing it with some virtual distance. And I thought, yeah, that would be really true. And it's kind of an interesting phenomenon that the virtual world has presented us, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So I think along those lines, we want to kind of brainstorm as far as when we've been in teams and we've been in meetings with teams, what has been like, let's make a list of some unsafe things, like some things that have happened. And I have this ball, and so again, I know it's Friday afternoon, so I'm going to encourage you, if you're able to, put on your camera, and we're going to come up with a list. And so of like things that have been considered kind of like unsafe or disruptions. And so I'll start, and I have this ball, and I'm going to throw it to Gail. Can I throw it to you, Gail?
Yep.
And I'm going, I'm gonna say people walking in and out of rooms. That's something like what I feel like makes it unsafe in team meetings. So
Okay, I caught it. And I want to say that when there's just a few people in a meeting that dominate the whole meeting, their voices are the only ones that are heard. Okay, who's got their hand up and I can throw it to them? Sunny, catch it.
Good catch.
Nice catch.
I just experienced this just yesterday where somebody says something that's not true and no one corrects them.
So like saying untruths, yeah? Okay,
Truths, yes.
great. Yeah, awesome. So Sunny asked, you've got that ball. Who wants the ball next?
Danielle, there you go.
Hello. When the way the room is arranged physically, so a group of people with the same types of opinions, strong opinions on one side of the room, or a table, and then others on the other side.
Okay, yeah, good. I think there was I think someone out there hand up. Yep, throw it to Melinda. Melinda, you got it. Oh.
I'm not a very good catcher most of the time. So I've been a school psychologist for a really long time, and I'm also a mediator as well. And I have sat in meetings where we were threatened by parents. That's never good. And just angry, just angry people in the meeting.
Angry people, yeah, and hurt. Okay, maybe let's do one more. Who else has? Oh, throw it to. Oh. Yeah, Christina.
Got it.
So when you go to a meeting and everybody else knows each other and they don't introduce themselves, and then you have a newcomer and they're just sitting there and they don't get introduced, they don't know what's going on, there's no agenda being shared. It's very awkward and off-putting, and everybody else is just talking amongst themselves and laughing and having fun. It's just a horrible feeling. You just never want to go back. And especially I work in parent engagement. It's hard to really want to try and find parents to work so hard and to get parents into a meeting. And then they go and they feel so unwelcome. They feel really stupid because they don't understand what's going on. They don't want to ask questions. And then you just feel so defeated because you just have to go back and say, why didn't you do the things that we went over? Just introduce yourselves, make them feel welcome. Remember, explain what you're talking about, So yeah. Anytime you just don't do the basics of, hi, my name is, I work for such and such, basic necessities of communication.
Right. But you said wonderful things. You said like agenda, not knowing, who's in the room, feeling left out. Like, and if we're talking about IEP meetings or 504s, or we're supposed to all be equal members. We're all supposed to, make decisions through consensus. So you all came up with a brilliant list, and I'm going to throw the ball back to Gail, and I'm going to share my screen.
I caught it.
Yay.
Christina, was that, I thought that comment you made also triggered in me how often I see people who just cannot seem to understand that no one understands, including me, and I've been doing this a while, all the acronyms. To me, that's also off-putting. And so thank you for that. Anyway, I was going to tell you, let me move this out of the way. The research that really changed a lot of things in terms of how people look at teams is called Project Aristotle, and Google decided, as you might know, and Google is huge, and everything they do is in teams. That's how they operate. right? And their assumption was that the most high-performing teams would be people who have complementary hard skills. So you put all the engineers and the electricians together. You put the PR people and the marketing people and maybe sales people. You put the designers with some other creative. So you clump them that way. And what they found was that actually the opposite was true, that in fact, it was the teams that had some human-centered traits that were the most effective. It had very little to do with what they did in terms of their actual job. It had everything to do with who they are. And they interviewed 180 teams over 2 years. They were surveying them. And what they found out, as I said, was that everything they thought was wrong. And that psychological feeling safe in a team is the #1 condition of a healthy team. And I did what all of you did, is I went straight to I know what it feels like, and I can get there in a second when it feels like it's an unhealthy team. I was just in a meeting a little bit ago that feels very off-putting. The decisions are made in a vacuum and then announced. And just to make this particularly ironic, I wanted to share with you, this is a group of mediators. So it's so important to think about how to make, and we're talking about, yes, IEP teams, but we're also talking about staff meetings, we're talking about your own family, we're talking about parent center meetings, any team that has to gather to work together or live together. I think we have to think about this in all relationships. How do you make it safe to have this human connection with one another? Some of the things that, interestingly, they were fairly simple things that, well, one of them isn't necessarily, but equal turn taking. And they didn't mean just everyone gets a voice. They meant equal voice. We hear each other, and every single person on that team, their voice is heard in an equal amount of time generally. I mean, they actually timed it and found the better functioning teams, everyone spoke. And I can't tell you how often that's not the case in teams I've seen, you know. And I know for me, what I do is I pull out, I go backwards. Look, if I'm not going to feel safe here, I will be in this meeting because I have to be, but I'm going to back way up and just observe, because it doesn't feel safe. The other thing that's important is that the people on that team have average or above social sensitivity or emotional intelligence. So again, the human-centered traits of being able to connect with each other, to take care of each other are, no, that's okay, Mark. I think he wants me to move on.
No, I was an accident. It really was.
The other thing at the bottom there, one of the things they found that really helps with teams is that there's an established set of norms there's agreements between the team members on how they're going to operate, how they're going to deal with conflict. You know, they just have some agreements, and they're known, they're reviewed. They're just not, oh, well, let's all be nice. I mean, they're actually significant agreements talked about. All right, so here's the list of what they came up with as important things. And you'll notice some of this is very similar to the keynote. Number one is the psychological safety. They feel safe to take risks, be vulnerable in front of each other, that they're heard, that they're listening. And I didn't speak to that. It's so important that in a group that's psychologically safe, that it is a known quality of that group that you can make a mistake, because the reality is that's the only time we ever fix things. So mistakes are encouraged. Ideas that don't seem great are encouraged, because it all contributes to what that team is doing and how they move forward. The next one is dependability. So the team members can count on each other, that they'll get their piece done. on time. And if not, there's a discussion about how to make that happen. But the team members can depend on each other. They can trust that these things will get done, or they'll be told something, you know, anything that has to do with people feeling like they can depend on each other. Then structure and clarity, that we have a goal, that we know what each of us does, that we know that our role is clear, our work is clear, we know where to go when we need help, we know where we go when we need support, and there is a mutual goal up front. We're all heading in a certain direction together. Meaning, work is personally important to the team members. They value that they're doing this, they like that they're doing, and I don't think there's a person in this room or at this conference that their work isn't meaningful. That's why you're here, because it's really life work. It's I'm missing the word, but you know, it's so valuable to the world that we do what we do. So it's meaningful for us. And then lastly, that the work we do has an impact, that it's going to impact our team, it's going to impact our organization, the people we serve, and even the world. We need to have this connection of psychological safety to have all of these other things. And this is what makes teams function really well. Mark, I think, do I have another one? Okay, I'm going to just quickly read the definition that they came up with. And that is that a healthy, psychologically safe team, the team members believe and do it all the time. It's safe for interpersonal risk taking. They can try new things. They can say it didn't work. Whoops, I made a mistake. And it's okay. That they have a really strong sense of confidence that the team's not going to embarrass them, reject them, or humiliate them for speaking up. Every idea is considered, every idea is welcome. There's a free flow of ideas, always, and mistakes are not seen as mistakes, but rather learning opportunities, because that's where you change things effectively. The team climate is characterized by trust, mutual respect, and people feeling really comfortable being who they are on this team. There's turn taking, above average emotional intelligence, and social sensitivity. So it's hard to achieve, but I think we have some great ideas on how to get there, and that's what we'll be looking at next. And before we move on, a quick comment, and that is that if you ever want more on this, Amy Edmondson from Harvard, just go on to YouTube and watch one of her events. She does short ones and long ones, and then it'll click you over to a bunch of other people who have done some work on this. And it's really very interesting. In fact, if I can indulge myself, that's what I'm indulging myself, not you. And one of the bits of research she's done is hospitals, and hospitals are such a hierarchy, right? In an OR room, the person in charge is the doctor. And sometimes that doctor is not really interested in hearing what other people have to say, and it results in mistakes. And the mistakes in a hospital can result in harm to their patient, right? And she actually gave the example of a anesthesiologist nurse who really needed to let the doctor know something. She was chastised for doing that. There was harm. And so this hospital turned everything around and made the OR a room, a psychologically safe, collaborative room. And they saw their numbers shift into a more positive way. So that's just one example. Oh, sure. I will add that Amy Edmondson into the chat. Okay.
And just a couple things. We'll also put it in the chat, just a sample. Gail talked about norms and agreements. And so just, this is just a sample. Actually, it's an IEP agenda that we use. Along in the second sheet is the meeting agreements. And so just if that's helpful for any of you, feel free to use it. I think to also keep it safe, asking everyone to not only agree, but to contribute to the list, I think it's just really important. I also want to highlight the making mistakes and being kind to each other and ourselves. Doing alternative dispute resolution, we work in an educational environment. So what can we learn from this, and how could we be hard on the problem and gentle with each other, right? And so all the meetings that we facilitate, we want to make sure that it's never punitive. It's only educational. And with that, I'm going to ask Shane to go ahead, and we're going to launch a poll. And we just would love to, it's anonymous, so we'll get that up. And just looking again to do a little temperature check and think about your current team. You could think of anyone you want and just check the ones that apply to you. And then Shane, once we have like a few up, or I don't know, more than half, we'll just show the post. I'm also going to put in the chat just the first exercise that we did, the show yourself activity. If you want to do that at all with teams that you work with or as a training, I'm happy to share that. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well. Okay. Pretty interesting. Okay, so I think for the most part, pretty high marks. It gets harder. It's yeah. If I make mistakes, we will all learn from it. That kind of feeling, and that's more challenging.
Yeah, I wish I was on these teams.
Yeah, good teams. Some, and it's nothing's perfect, and I'm sure we could list all different ones. So Gail, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. We're going to go back to the PowerPoint, and I'm going to promise to make a mistake. So because it's like,
okay, thank you.
Yeah, and
let me encourage you to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
And in the background, by the way, I've had a fire alarm go off. I've dropped a couple of things. So speaking of mistakes, when the harder you try to be quiet and careful, for me, the more noise I make. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is to get into, it sounds like you guys are in some really good teams. And we want to get your ideas on what you do to keep that team feeling safe. And we're going to get into random groups, brainstorm some ideas. How do you know you're in a safe team? What does it look like? And the main one is, what practices do you use that are to create psychological safety in relationships and/or teams? And think of them all. I'm particularly interested in parent meetings because they're just so often seems like such an imbalance of power in those meetings. Then pick the top 3 and copy those top 3 into the chat when we return to the main room. Okay, so practices or great ideas for practice, or you heard something at this conference that you're going to try, anything like that. Okay.
And what we'll do too is that we're going to put the notes, those questions in the chat, so you'll have those. Then there is a help button. So if your group gets stuck, just push the help button, and we'll come in and provide you tea or coffee and answer any questions that you might have. So
Halloween candy?
Yes.
Yes, I will take those in. And so Shane, are we ready for to send everyone off?
Yes, here we go.
Okay, go, and he'll do all the work and get all the Fitbit steps, and he'll push us back in about 10 minutes. So welcome back. And so we would love to take a moment to debrief, and let's hear from some of the groups. Feel free to post some things in the chat, and also yeah, unmute. What were the top 3 practices that you use for to create safe space?
Sunny, will you?
Yes, yes. So
I
we were
know.
rudely ripped out of our room before we finished that summary. But what I heard, some great. So we'd be glad to know. So Gail and I do work together, and we're on a similar team that we're both just incredibly frustrated with, where we don't feel psychologically safe. So I was really happy to. I was really nice to hear what works well for the 2 other folks in my room and what they've done. And so what I heard, and please correct me if I'm not getting this right, but that there's the team to build psychological safety has a reflective process. There's permission to be honest, and that using tools to reposition thinking. And Tabitha actually talked more about this David Rock's SCARF tool. So having actual tool to be able to use it with the team to reposition thinking.
That's perfect. Can you talk a little bit about more what that means from
what that means?
Direct services support versus asking.
Was it Tabitha you said?
Yeah, Tabitha, actually, there she is.
Hi, this is Tabitha. I'm sorry. Talk more about repositioning or the tool. So really just kind of reframing thinking. So, I use this tool. I've taught this tool to my advocates called the SCARF tool. It takes us through 5 different social domains: status, certainty, autonomy, relationships, and fairness, and how we interpret events and interactions, and we either move towards our threat response or our reward response, and really being aware of ourself, having and others, and being able to move towards that reward response. But part of that is creating that self-awareness and coming back and being able to reframe my perception of the event and putting myself in somebody else's shoes. So, I like to use the example when I'm teaching, like reframing. Well, I'm a terrible driver. I'm a terrible driver, but nobody else can hear me. Wait, I shouldn't say that. I'm not a terrible driver. I'm the good driver. I think everybody else is a terrible driver. So I judge everybody. And I'm like, oh, why are you driving so fast or whatever? But when I'm in my good moments, I can reframe my thinking and say, gosh, that person must really be in a hurry. Maybe there's an emergency at home. And so it gives me a different perspective of what might be happening. And so using that same sort of model to go through those 5 different social domains and create more cooperative and collaborative teams. I should say more collaborative teams.
SCARF model, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really
other
great.
Things in the chat, we have just really keeping it student focused, starting with strengths and having open dialogue.
Having input, value every contribution, attend to the nonverbal behavior, prepare, lay the groundwork with meeting agreements, agendas, climate. Make sure it's relaxing and it's a nice space if you can. And we already talked, in a way we talked about this, people like to know where we're going. So making that really clear up front. It's amazing to me how often no one talks about the purpose. Why are we here, whether it's an IEP or any kind of a meeting. And that gives those of us who need to know where we're going some, how do I say, ground, I feel more grounded if I know why am I sitting here, right? Oh, it's neuroscience, huh? SCARF, got some of the, yeah, that's great.
Just like practically when we're having virtual meetings, and I'll ask everyone to rename themselves, keeping their name but adding what's their role in the meeting, and it just helps. When we're in person, I'll also do that. I'll go to the school site or regional center or whoever I'm at in the front office and grab an index card and have everyone make a nameplate. But here on Zoom, it's kind of it's done it for you. And I think one of the things to create safe space is that everyone's job on the team is to have everyone else be at their best. We want everyone else, we want everyone to look good. And so how do we set ourselves up, for success? I know we do a lot of, in our trainings, we do a lot of time talking about, well, if we're working with school district staff and such, I'll ask people in the chat room, write down how many IEPs do you go to in a year? And I don't know, they'll range between a minimum of like 20 usually, and it could be up to 100, depending on what the position is. And then we ask the question, well, okay, and then on average, how many IEPs do parents go to a year? And that answer is 1. And so what does that mean? What does that tell us? How do we create that, really that equal level and balancing out? It's yeah, definitely challenging.
A couple, I love the reflective, being reflective, like after something hard or even something great, getting the team back together, whatever it is. And I'm not just talking about IEP teams, getting back together and doing a little, hey, what do you think? How did that go? What do we need to do next time? I like that. Also, learning opportunities, because we're going to talk in a minute about being emotionally intelligent, giving the team an opportunity to learn more, taking in something like the SCARF model and trying to use it. Brainstorming, I think, is a way to get everybody out of their head, whether you brainstorm something important or not. It's more about getting out of your head and everybody's voice being heard. Get to know one another. That was one of the things that they found out with Project Aristotle, was that the healthier teams, they knew each other. It doesn't mean you have to spend the weekend with them, or every event or dinner every Friday night. It's just that they actually cared about each other and knew each other and wanted to know each other. Admit mistakes and know that it will be okay. And again, I can't emphasize enough that mistakes are the way we learn and make changes and that kind of thing. I'd love to hear, anybody else have anything that people can walk away from and take to their own teams? We only heard from a couple of groups. In the chat, if you're not comfortable. Talked about agenda setting, brainstorming. I have little lists everywhere on my desk. Anybody else want to talk? Someone pointed out to me that for some of you it's 4:30 and it's raining outside, so you're starting to, somebody's nodding, so your day is winding down and ours is just getting started. Bob,
I'm a big believer in no surprises, when in doubt, right? At meetings. And again, it's setting up for success. And that does not mean predetermination. It just means being able to, know what's up and to, again, have everyone be at their best. And what does that mean? Love it when, when parents and service providers are drafting goals and then presenting it together to the IEP meeting. If there's anything that parents want the district part of the team to consider, that's provided, or district will provide things to the parents that they consider.
Okay.
So okay, it's Friday afternoon. Let's if you can put on your cameras one more time and put your thing into the gallery view again. So again, I want to invite you to put on your cameras and gallery view. And this time, just so you know, because part of psychological safety, it's about active listening, right? And listening, and then also okay to make mistakes, because we want to be in a team that it's absolutely fine to make mistakes. So I'm just going to ask everyone right now just to sway back and forth, just sway. Awesome. And then when I say stop, I want you to stop. So stop. Perfect. And for this activity, I'm actually going to take myself off video because people tend to look at me. So sway. Everyone sway. Awesome. And stop. And so now when I say the opposite, when I say sway, I want you to stop. And when I say stop, I want you to sway. So stop. Sway. Stop. Stop. You're amazing. Okay, so now we're going to do another thing, but this time you have full permission and a request to unmute. This is only going to be for a couple of seconds, so I want you to unmute if you're able to. And when I say name, I want you to say your name like you got this. So name.
Robert
Sunny
Walker.
Savage.
Cindy Savage.
Robert Walker.
Awesome. And then when I say clap, I want you to take your hands to your camera and clap. So clap. That's great. Clap. Name.
Robert Walker.
Cindy.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to do the opposite. So when I say name, you're going to say clap. And when I say clap, you're going to say name. So name. Name. Clap. Clap.
No, Cindy.
Awesome. Let's see if you remember sway.
Which one are we on?
Stop.
Whoops.
Oh, sway
Backwards.
or stop.
Stop.
Sway or backwards?
Awesome. And name. Okay. Clap.
Sunny.
Name.
Cindy.
That's cute.
Okay, and everyone, just yeah, high fives. High five your neighbor.
It's 4 in the morning.
So what's the reason why we would do this exercise in a creating psychological safety?
We had permission to make mistakes.
Absolutely. What happened when we made a mistake?
We laughed.
We laughed at it. Yeah, and we're gonna high five each other. You know what?
Those books that show the science.
Oh, I don't know who was speaking.
Also took a lot of listening, Mark. We had to really pay attention.
So yeah, listening, and that's what we really, we need to do in meetings. When so Gail and I used to be state mediators in the state of California way back when McGeorge School of Law had the contract with the Department of Education. And there were, the year that we all left, there was, I think, over 2,200 filings. There were 2,200, lawsuits because parents disagreed, with the IEPs, and CDE wanted to know, well, why did you file for due process? What was the reason why you did that? What do you think the number one reason was why parents filed for due process?
Didn't feel heard.
That's right. And Christina, I think I saw you say that too, you're on mute, but yeah, didn't feel heard. It wasn't that the parent, the child didn't get an aid or didn't get more service or whatever. It's that no one took the time to really get them and to hear them. And so we want to, again, create everyone, create meetings, relationships for success. And yeah, so we want to end with some more tools.
Well, just a couple of thoughts. Yeah. And one is the emotional intelligence. This is a journey we're all on. And one of the things I think is helpful is if teams can do workshops or videos together, because I'm pretty up there, and it took me a long time to find out people thought I was bossy. And I have had to learn to just tone myself down a lot. And one of the main things emotional intelligence teaches us is to be more self-aware, see what our impact is on other people, as well as empathy. I mean, I can go on, there's 18 domains, but I just wanted to put that out there, that the better we are, the more our team will function in a healthier way. And that's all I have, Mark, I believe. There's a couple attachments.
Yeah, so as part of the slides that you'll see are just some sample questions. We want, everyone, on the team just to have some really good open-ended, questions to have as a resource. And so hopefully that will help. And, and we just want everyone to, I think, just I steal the saying from the book Getting to Yes from Roger Fisher and William Ury. But when it comes down to it, can we agree just to be hard on the problem and gentle with each other? You know, out of all the years that I've been doing this work, you know, I've never met someone who works for a school district, who got their credentials, who said, you know, I've done this because I want to make the lives of parents miserable. And I haven't, in all the years that I've done this, worked with parents who had children with disabilities, who said, I had this child because I want to make the lives of the school and the district miserable. No, it's emotional, right? And it's challenging. So just really want to hold up our hands high in support of all you. We're advocates just for the process, and just to be able to have that container for people to feel safe in meetings and to move forward. Because and there's always an excuse. There's always a reason when our kids are stuck and they're kind of stuck on yesterday. Sometimes we can be too. And so we could always, you know, hopefully find the common ground and move forward, even in a baby step. So
I also want to just say thank you to everyone. I mean, it's always such a joy for me to be around people who care and are making such a difference in everybody's lives, not just children, but families, I think, in your community and in the world. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we're just putting on our contact in the chat. So would love to continue the conversation, or if you want to have a virtual tea, we love that. So
I'm going to read something Noella put in here, just so you're all aware. Big thanks to all of our attendees. If you haven't been aware, there will be no closing remarks today. Have a great weekend, everyone, and thanks for being a part of this event. And thank you, Noella. I think you were here, but maybe you're, and to the Zoom people, Shane. Yeah, go ahead, Noella.
No, not much to say. Just wanted to let everybody know that, we won't be having a formal closing. We greatly appreciate everyone coming to this event. We tried our best to make it as inclusive as possible and provide a wide array of presenters. And we are extremely grateful to Gail and Mark for lending all of their knowledge and expertise, and for being longtime partners in the work that we all do.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So everyone, take a bow. This is it. We're done with the conference. Woohoo!
And Christina has her bunny ears on.
Yeah, have a great Halloween if you celebrate.
Yeah, I was gonna go grab my thing, but I'll save it for Halloween.
I was teaching this morning, and I needed I teach teachers, and I need to remind them that they have to stay in touch with their inner child. So, rainbow socks and rainbow ears.
There you go.
Gail, I've enjoyed the artwork behind you. I've loved it every time you've been on.
Oh, thanks. I like that. It's called Resolution.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, she's holding a wall, keeping it steady. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. Okay, there's a survey one more time. Thanks for coming.